My son, who is neurodiverse, to say the least, he's wonderful, tender-hearted, very empathetic, affectionate kid, but his attention is sometimes an issue. And when we went to the pandemic and he went onto the tablet for school, it was like a transformation before my eyes. Granted, I was home more, so I could see it, right? And I thought the first time, oh my goodness, there is something really to this. Like, I'm seeing it happen before my eyes. And that was my wake-up call, because I was no Luddite. I'm a doctor. I think technology is incredible and can be life-saving and is extremely valuable, and the internet is the summation of human understanding and knowledge, right? So I'm not against technology, but I'm now much more realistic about the fact that it's not just all good, that there's some very real things happening that we need to be aware of, and we need to start to be talking about, which is why we're here, and intervene. So, okay. All right. So I think these slides are all available on the app that they mentioned. So, I think we had 2 more people join us too. Would you guys really quick, sorry, before I start, would you mind letting us know who you are and what brought you to this talk today and what you want to learn?
I'm Mary. I'm in the class. And so we had to pick 2, but I was actually thinking about being a nurse for a long time. But now I'm going down the psychology route. So.
Wonderful. We need mental health providers so much. So I think that's a great choice.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name's Maddie Rodriguez. I'm from Project Kinship. And I am here because we absolutely work with a lot of children and youth. So this is a very critical conversation. So I'm excited to for us today.
Welcome. And do either of you have kids?
No, not direct, not my own. I have my help.
Okay, so I think there's about 5 parents in the room. So I'm going to leave more of my parenting parts to the end. But for those who are parents, if you want to stay, if we run over a bit, we'll have a little bit more specific towards that. So yeah, I think my presentation went out on that app, and so you guys can take a look at my learning objectives for today. So I am a clinician. I'm in the clinic. And so I am learning a lot from my experience in the clinic and my patients and their families. Everything that I'm going to talk about here today, I did not learn a single thing of it in medical school or residency. I went through medical school before really a lot of this was even being talked about. And so a lot of this has been from research and learning that I have done since then. So one of the big things I'm encouraging for nursing students, and I'm teaching pediatric residents, is that we have to bring this sort of stuff into the curriculum. So we're in the infancy of that, but I'm hoping today's talk will be one step in that direction. And so I'm going to be using clinical vignettes. So I'm going to be using examples of patients. Now, I've changed their names. I've changed a few of the details. I've kind of merged a few details from different cases. But they're all based off of cases that I have had. So we're going to start with Anthony here. He is a 17-year-old young man who was brought to my clinic by his mother for behavioral concerns. He's spending more and more time in his room, she says. So Anthony sits on the exam table with his shoulders slumped, his eyes are down, and he's fidgeting with his phone. I don't know why she brought me here. I'm fine, he says. He looks tired, so I ask how he's been sleeping. Before he can answer, his mom chimes in. He stays up all night on his phone. She shares that when she's tried to restrict his phone use, she later awakens to find him hiding under his covers and on his phone. If you're a parent, you may have encountered that. Kids and their tablets, they'll go find even the old ones that are stashed away that you retired and bring them back to life. So yes, this is happening not all too infrequently. It says, it's not that bad, he says. Some of my friends, they don't go to bed until 2 a.m. And he argues with his mom. Are you tired? I ask him. Yeah, I just drink a Red Bull and I'm fine, he replies. His mom contends that he often sleeps in and is late for school and he has been falling asleep after school. His mom starts to tear up, and he admits, I do feel kind of bad because my mom keeps getting letters from the school when I'm late, and it's stressing her out. I tried to cut back using my phone at night, but I just can't seem to stop. All my friends are texting and posting, and I don't want to be left out. I want to know what's going on, and that keeps me up. His mother shares that his teacher is concerned about his failing grades, poor concentration, and how she's constantly instructing him to put his phone away during class. What? He interjects. Everyone else is on their phones too. It's not my fault TikTok memes are more interesting than math. I notice that he has lost a lot of weight since his last appointment. He discloses that sometimes he just doesn't have an appetite all day. But late at night, he gets so hungry that he devours a party-sized bag of chips and it's gone before he realizes it. He has also stopped playing soccer, which he used to love. I don't know, it got kind of boring, he sighs. When you inquire about what he likes to do instead, he replies, I usually just hang out in my room. I don't really feel like going out. Mom is concerned about his growing isolation, and he admits to feeling lonely and sad most days. I ask his mom to wait outside of the clinic room so we can talk privately for a few minutes. He confides in me that he has found some stuff online about ways he could kill himself, and he revisits it occasionally. But he sighs, I wouldn't ever do it because I wouldn't want to put my mom through that. I know how much she loves me and how much it would hurt her. He estimates using his phone for about 4 hours per day. I show him how to check his screen time on his phone, and we check it together. The phone reports an average of 8.5 hours per day, with YouTube, Snapchat, TikTok being the most utilized apps. He shrugs his shoulders and mutters, Okay. So, smart device ownership has been increasing among youth, and it is now starting at younger and younger ages. If we look historically at adolescent use, we can see a rapid rise taking off around 2013, and it's across all demographics. And it's been increasing every year since. I mean, this is relatively old data compared to where we're at today, right? And a deeper dive into the data reveals specific use differences by gender, ethnicity, and household income. In general, boys use overall 1 hour more than girls. Black youth use 1.5 to 2 hours more than white, and Hispanic Latino children use 2.33 hours more than their white peers. Those from lower income families engage 2 to 3 hours more per day than their peers from higher income families. Other differences include that 40% of boys play video games every day compared to 10% of girls. And girls engage in social media more than boys. This data all comes from the Common Sense Media 2021 census. And if you are interested in more of the drill down statistics, this is all public. You just go to Common Sense Media and they will show you the entire document of the census. So there's a lot of fascinating data. I'm going to be sharing several slides from that census, but this is one of the most kind of aha moments. I feel like this slide didn't populate in my talk yesterday, but this is, and I should clarify, it's the average daily recreational screen use. So when the kids are saying, oh, but I'm doing homework, this is recreational use. Now, to be fair, kids are task switching throughout all of their homework. So it's really kind of hard to, how many of those seconds was this and that. But the phones are kind of nice because the phones will actually tell you how many seconds you were on Snap and YouTube. And so they can get pretty decent data even when they are task switching. So that's where we're at as of 2021. Oh, and anyone who has any questions, just throw your hand up and we'll just do our best to tackle them.
YouTube, so sometimes I'll listen to music on my phone and then turn it off and then.
Yeah, good question. I wondered that myself, and maybe somebody here in the room can answer this question because it's been in my mind forever. When they're listening to music, is it recording it?
Recording what? Oh yeah, so In a sense, yes, they are. So what you need to do is actually to not track it anymore is, I don't know if you guys know, like, if you do this, you have to close the app out.
And then it doesn't count it.
It doesn't count it and it also saves your battery.
So if you're listening to music and the screen is up, it's counting that as time.
Correct.
But if you fling it up,
Mhm.
then you can listen, but it's not counting it as time.
Correct. Well, if you bring it up, it's like, it shuts the whole thing down.
Oh,
So
okay.
if it's open, if it's on that little screen, it shows
It's
you,
still counting as time.
Exactly.
Okay, well, maybe then the data isn't quite, but it's the best that we've got right now. And so, because that's what I hear a lot. Oh, but I was listening to music all that time. Like, okay. So, but this is survey. These are questions. So what the data is telling us that watching online videos, that is the favorite by far media activity of both age groups. And you know, when the internet was first on the scene, the hope and the promise of the internet was that this was going to be this content creation, this magical power where we're gonna all have all the human knowledge that ever existed, and it's just gonna make the world so much better place. E-reading content creation, sadly, is such a small fraction of what's actually going on online. So, just want to be realistic with what is actually happening. Okay. Let's see here. So, okay. That means if Anthony, our patient, continues to use his phone at the current rate that he is for the rest of his life, presuming he lives till 90 years old, any guesses how much time that would be? Any math majors?
30+ years.
Very close. 25 years. 25 years of his life recreationally staring at a screen. And when you're talking to a 17-year-old about this, that's his whole life and plus, right? So I do that math. I already have some ballpark numbers if you're 17 and it's this many hours, so it goes pretty quick. But you do that math, you're like, if you keep going like this, that's 25 years of your life of TikTok. So that kind of gives them that little bit of a light bulb moment of, is that how I want to spend 25? And I have another chart that's not in here. But when you factor out all the things of life, sleep, eating, hopefully some hygiene, although that goes by the wayside for a lot of my teens, exercising, driving to where you have to go for work as you get older and stuff. Guess if you spend 8.5 hours a day on your screen, guess how much time is left for free time? Any guesses?
Like 30 minutes.
22 months. 22 months of your life is left for free time. Is that what you want out of your life? 22 months of life, right? So, yeah, these are just kind of some visuals that can help our young people understand what they're sacrificing. Okay. Now, the amount of time, however, that young people are spending engaging in media activity is certainly not the only important measure. It's not just a matter of how much time, right? It's the content of the media, how it's used, and what our response to it is. These are all critically important factors as well. Okay. All right, another trend is increasing number of youth who are using social media every day. There were some statistics that were given out yesterday about that, but this is one that I find very interesting. There's a statistically significant difference between the number of girls who use social media every day and the number who enjoy social media. So that means there's a good percentage here of girls who are using every day who don't necessarily enjoy it. Then why? Right? Those are the 5 why questions. Why? What is compelling them to be on social media? And we gotta sort that out. Okay. So starting around the same time, this 2013 kind of landmark date, there's been a steep rise in youth mental health disorders. I talked a lot about this yesterday, specifically things like anxiety, depression, and suicide. It was definitely exacerbated by the pandemic, but it predated the pandemic, so we have to know. We can't just blame it all on COVID, okay? And according to the National Youth Risk Behavioral Survey that is done by the CDC, there's been a 10-year trend showing a substantial increase in persistent feelings of sadness or hopelessness among our high school students. 57% of females are feeling persistently sad and hopeless. Why? So, there's a researcher in San Diego. She's pretty famous with this work, Dr. Jean Tweeney. She's a generations researcher at San Diego State University, and she does analysis of the country's 4 largest publicly available databases, totaling over 11 million young Americans anonymously surveyed across every demographic, and found repeatedly that youth with more online activities had greater unhappiness, especially when compared to offline activities that were generally more protective. This is 2013-15. We've known this for a long time. All right. And then, let's see here. Her analysis also revealed increased risk of depressive symptoms when online, especially when compared to offline activities, which again were relatively protective. And her review of the this is again the CDC's data, demonstrated an increased risk of at least one suicide risk factor with just, guess what, 6 hours of screen-based activity per week. Per week. Now we're talking 6 hours or more per day. So I don't have that data yet. So we'll see when she does her next round of it. Okay. All right, here. Oh, sorry. I think that was the slide. Sorry, guys, I got off on my slides. This was the one for the social media. Oh, no, this is okay, got it. This is also 10 hours. 10 hours or more per week and being unhappy with social media. Again, old data. Now we've got kids. I had kids who were double-digit hours during the pandemic, kids coming in, checking their phones. They were 12 plus hours on their phones during the pandemic. So some of our kids were exposed to more than this per day for quite some time during the pandemic. Okay. Suicide rates among young people, unfortunately, has been climbing. And there are many speculations about this, but some researchers have found a concerning parallel to when smart devices and social media platforms became widely used in our population. Yeah. Access to the internet, which again holds the summation of human understanding, also comes with access to knowledge of all things scary and sad. And filter bubbles, which was alluded to in our talk today. Does anyone know what filter bubbles are? Okay, so filter bubbles are that concept of what the young people are talking about, where you search one thing, and that's teed up across every platform that you're on. Because all the platforms, if you allow them to, they all talk to each other.
Algorithms.
They are. They're algorithms, and the algorithms are designed to intensify. So what you first start out, whatever you're searching, might be just kind of a general, like, hey, I want to check out, pick anything, I don't know, cats. But as you spend more and more time on cats, they know that your interest is going to start to wane. So then the algorithm intensifies, makes those cat videos more and more intense and more out there. And so it's designed that way. They know that they have to, their whole goal is engagement. That's what they call it. I call it addiction, but they call it engagement because that's how they make money. The more data they get off of you, the more they can sell on you. So there's a whole economy, right? So the algorithms, okay, so a filter bubble where one online search leads to being presented with more and more related topics in a digital algorithm that is orchestrated over multiple platforms in an intensifying fashion, as designed by the tech engineers, can drive a sad teen into depression, towards deeper depression, and even towards suicide. And that has been talked about by parents of victims, of youth victims. And if anyone watched the Senate hearing in January this month with the five top CEO techs, there's a powerful video of Mark Zuckerberg apologizing to the families of victims whose kids were driven to suicide by their algorithms. And you have to understand, they did know about this because papers were leaked from in the industry, people working in the industry, that they had, I believe it was Instagram, had done an experiment, a massive experiment, where they looked at people's feeds who were sharing something about being sad. And they used algorithms to pump those people with happy things. And they studied it and saw that those people's feeds changed to be happier. And they realized, wow, we have a powerful tool here. These people who were posting sad things, we pumped them a bunch of happy things, and now they're posting more happy messages. That's great, right? What's the reverse?
Vice versa.
Mm-hmm. And what do you think engages people more? When they're happy or when they're angry, fired up, upset?
Angry.
So they know. And they can't pretend that they don't know anymore because actually the documents are out there, internal documents that show that they knew. So we'll talk more about it.
They use technology too.
They are masters of psychologists. They hire the best and the brightest psychologists, doctors, computer technicians, engineers, people who work in the gaming industry, like gambling gaming industry. Yeah, all of it. Okay. So how does this all happen? As we touched on yesterday, current smartphones, they hijack a critically important evolutionary process for how we as humans biologically and physiologically handle stress. Instead of working through our discomfort, now we can just use a screen to avoid or distract ourselves from that discomfort, which in the short run may work pretty well. But in the long run, if we're doing that every single time, it leads to less and less of an innate ability for us to handle stress. And so what initially starts out when you give a kid a smartphone, some entertainment, some distraction, mom can get a few minutes to do the laundry and dishes. Hey, I'm a mom, I know, like, it's so nice, right? And sometimes it is necessary. Let's be kind to the parents, right? Right? Like, life is hard. Do you think about 5 minutes where they're safe? See, that's the other thing. I think as parents, we think if I give my kid a tablet, they're sitting here quiet, they're safe. They're not out on the streets where they could get hit by a car. What we have to start to understand in this digital age as parents is that is not entirely safe. Statistically, there's great research on this too. They are actually, believe it or not, safer from a predator on the street than they are online right now. And so we have to change as parents, our thinking and our instincts have to kick in. That we can't just look at that as a babysitter. We have to understand what we're really putting them in front of, right? Okay. Starts out as some entertainment, but then they start using it more and more and more to just, at 1 second I'm bored. There's another interesting research of people waiting for an elevator. Guess what people now do when they're waiting for an elevator? They're on their phone.
Yep. New
phenomenon. So we fill at those little brief moments with being on our phone. Can't handle waiting for that elevator. I'm one of them. I get it. Okay. But when we do that, when we fill all these moments, then we kind of set ourselves up for a behavioral addiction to develop. I won't spend quite as much time because I did spend some time on this yesterday, but right currently in medical, in the DSM-5, there is not a specific screen addiction disorder. There are in other countries, interestingly enough, and they are setting up treatment centers for people. but we're not there here yet. There is an internet gaming disorder, but we're not far. It's coming. We're a little slower getting there. But Stanford currently, their child psychiatrists are using this criteria to make the diagnosis and start treatment. Because that's really the point, right? Is we don't necessarily need to label it, but we need to start doing something about helping people. So this is how they diagnose it. So if you had 2 or 3 of these, you'd be considered a mild use disorder, 4 to 5 moderate use, 6 or more severe use disorder. I'm not going to go through all of them for sake of time because I'm kind of running over, but you can see how screens, so many of us are probably already in the moderate, right? At least. Okay. And then I'm focusing a lot on mental health, but there's also a lot of physical health that I'm seeing resulting out of this. You can't be doing something for 8.5 hours a day and not have a physical impact on your body. So all of these things are things that I have seen. And we've been talking a lot about like sextortion and the tracking. That's what the conference is focusing on. But even just sexual dysfunction. I have young men who cannot have an erection because they have viewed such graphic images for so long that the real life stuff just doesn't cut it. And there's no like Viagra that necessarily fixes that problem. And so it's sad to see young people who are dealing with these kinds of problems. So, okay, here's my second vignette, Alex. All right, so Alex is a bright, tender-hearted, and naturally protective older brother of 3 younger siblings. At school one day, his classmate insinuated something about the Momo challenge. Curious, he asked Siri on his school tablet later, in his after-school program, as a matter of fact, to show him the Momo challenge. While alone in the halls of his school, during his after-school program, what he saw terrified him. But there was no one there to talk to. He felt ashamed, confused, and scared. For weeks, he tried to put it out of his mind and convince himself that it was not real. But he was starting to have nightmares about it, and he would end up in his parents' bed in the middle of the night, refusing to go back to his room. His mom started to become concerned, and when his anxiety reached new heights, she started to fear the worst. She asked him, "Something happened at school?" Through thick, hot tears, he finally disclosed his deep-seated fear that someone from online might somehow harm his family if he didn't harm himself. He explained to his mom that he thought it wasn't true, but that the fear that his family might be endangered from something he did online was something he couldn't shake off. If you don't know about the Momo Challenge, it's out there. This actually happened to my daughter's classmate, and her mom contacted me and said, "What's going on?" And I'm like, "Should I talk to the principal? Like, I think somebody did something to him." And it wasn't until later that we found out that they had been talking about the Momo Challenge in his class, and he wanted to see what it was, and so this all came out. If you don't know what it is, it's a terrible thing. Don't Google it. I Googled it, and I didn't sleep the entire night. I was terrified, literally. But it's basically this horrible creation. It looks like a puppet, but a terrible puppet, and it made the news because it was this horrible person or whoever, creator, who was using it to try and teach kids how to kill themselves. And telling them that if they didn't, then Momo would come after their family and kill their family. And certain kids, again, some of the neurodiverse kids kept doing this kind of stuff. So anyhow, just the concept of it, right? Even as adults, the concept that someone would design such a thing, that's a talk in and of itself, right? And now we're having this with 10-year-olds talking about that there's somebody out in the world that would design such a thing. These are heavy, heavy things, right? Okay. And kids, that's the other thing with kids. As a pediatrician, I'll tell you, they don't always just come out and just tell you, like, la 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 la, right? It's gonna come out in physical symptoms. Not sleeping, not eating, behavioral things, like they're in bed with mom all of a sudden at 10 years old, haven't been in bed for 5 years with you. And so as parents, we have to be picking up on if we see a behavioral change in our kid, what's going on? Like, we gotta be really, really aware. Oh no.
Reminds me of,
Do you think that that actually happened to my nephew who at 10 years old? And I'm just curious, what is the follow-up to that? Is that I mean, obviously it's relationship with parents and family, but is that a follow-up with a pediatrician? Is that literally warranting a mental health follow-up with maybe a professional?
Yeah, I think, it depends. This is an extreme situation, and it depends, on your relationship with your child. If you are really tight and attached with your kid, and you can sit, down and can be like, okay, this isn't real, this is real, you are safe in your home, there's some things online aren't real, you might be able to kind of help them process and work through it, but if it's interfering with their function, their sleep, he didn't want to go back to school and sit in that hallway. Then yeah, you're looking to work with the school psychologist. You're working to talk to the school. How did he get to watch Momo Challenge at school? You're talking about filters, and you got to advocate because this. I'll tell you the truth. My district had not a clue that this was happening on campus. So they don't necessarily know. Okay, so you have to advocate. And when your kid sees that you're advocating for them, they really feel loved. My daughter with the STAR app. Oh, I was a mama bear with that STAR app because I'll tell you, they had just had Calm come in and teach them about good touch, bad touch, right? Great, love it. Then she goes to the after school program that's on the STAR app, and there's some song, and I'm not hip, about how it's okay to be touched all over your body.
oh,
And that's on the STAR app with a video. And so how can you, in one sense, teach this lesson from Calm? And in the next sense, she's sitting alone watching a video how it's okay, she doesn't have to feel ashamed or embarrassed to be touched wherever. So that can't be on campus, on a school tablet. So I, get to have a little talk with the principal about that one, and the school district, and the news outlet. Mama bear.
What is the star app?
Huh?
What is the star app?
It's iTunes. And iTunes people think is music, but it's music videos, and it's other videos. It's videos. So I thought it was iTunes. I thought it was music.
Yeah, so
My daughter called it the STAR app. I didn't even know what the STAR app was.
I don't know what year, but at some point Apple put everything on iTunes. So all the music video, the music, the ringtones, movies, all of it went on iTunes.
And the other thing she found out, this was fascinating, because all of these videos have a price tag on them, right? So I thought, well, she can't access those. That's a school tablet because it says it's $1.50 to watch that Looney Tunes. And she goes, no, it's not. And she just clicks and it starts playing it. I'm like, huh? Did you pay for that? So they just start clicking. I would see that $1.50 and I'd be like, oh, that's not free. I'm not going to click it. They just click. And then stuff opens up. And then they're like, oh. And I was like, who's paying for it? She's like, no, it's free. So, hey, 8.5 hours. Thousands of American children are just clicking around and stuff is popping up. Right? Okay. So, all right. So ask him. I said, show me how you do it. And she started showing me. And I was like, oh, I'm learning a lot. Thank you. Okay. All right. So research has shown a rapid increase in general anxiety disorder diagnosis within pediatrics around the same time frame we've been talking about. Fair Health, an independent nonprofit that collects data for and manages the nation's largest database on billed health insurance claims, released this data in their white paper detailing national behavioral health trends. General anxiety disorder claims, so that's us pediatricians when we bill our codes, right? That's what they're collecting. General anxiety disorder claims increased 389% for high school students and 255% for 11 to 13-year-olds. With the greatest increase since 2011. Kids are so anxious. And you hear these stories about what they are going through. My goodness, if some random guy was like texting me and asking me, like, knew my phone number, knew my name, knew where I lived, and was sending me pictures, I would be so anxious. And this is like another day, high school, right? So like, yeah, these kids are anxious. Look what they're dealing with. It's just unbelievable. So for kids with wireless mobile device technology, that's tablets, smartphones, anything that connects to the internet, the boogeyman is no longer just under their bed. He is in the palm of their hand and potentially anywhere a smart device is found. Something scary online can occur unexpectedly and in an unexpected location. So in our society, previously safe places like homes, our bedrooms, schools, no longer feel entirely safe. Scary, violent, confusing, and or age inappropriate sexual images or videos can be accessed intentionally or even unintentionally. And kids, it's important, they lack, let me back up. These types of images may be viewed largely alone, without a caring adult available to contextualize it for them, right? I had one kid tell, he was really upset because it was during with the war on Ukraine, and he was trying to read the news on his school tablet, and somehow, as he was going down the algorithms of the news, he encountered a video of somebody being shot and killed. This is in the middle of class, on his own, in his tablet with his headphones, looking around. And he came to me saying, was it real? Was it real? Like, did somebody just get shot? Like, can you imagine trying to process that in the mind of a child in the middle of class? This is intense. And there's no adult to say, actually, as a matter of fact, that was AI, or like even just be there to hold them for a second and say, that shouldn't have been there for you to see. There are sad things, horrible things happening, but I'm here with you. Let's talk about it. Like they're just trying to process this on their own. And they generally lack the larger understanding or the worldview in which to interpret it, too. And this is going to be like for the rest of AI and the rest of our future. There can be a blurring of what is real or unreal. And kids have imaginations, right? So this is really hard for them, even harder than for us, and it's hard for us. And the images can be branded in the mind's eye and very hard for a child to forget. You have kids going through therapy, but they can't get that picture out of their eye, out of their mind. You can try and talk them through it, but that picture is there, right? They can't unsee it. So prevention here is really important. So I've encountered these so much, and I have coined the phrase tablet traumas. I call these tablet traumas, and they are happening on the micro level and the macro level to our kids every day. And I think that's really contributing to their anxiety. Yeah.
I don't know, this might be, I'm gonna say controversial, but I'm not a parent, so what do I know? So I'm 25. I'm not that much older than high school kids. But I guess my question is, like, I understand parents needing at that moment.
Yeah.
But, like, don't we just cut the cord? Like, why are we giving children tablets? I'm just not understanding that. And, like, I grew up, again, I guess I'm a Zennial, I'm like in the middle. We didn't have that stuff growing up.
Yeah.
I mean, towards the end, high school tablets and stuff became more normal. But I watched my siblings who did grow up with that, and they cannot function. I'm not understanding.
It's complicated, but I think being a parent, I think part of it is as the promise of the internet was rolled out to us, we were told that, and we experienced how miraculous it can be, how cool, how exciting. I mean, and the tech industry pumps us with this is so good. They sell it to the school saying these tablets are going to solve your English as a first language learner problems, right? We get pushed that, right? And when your kid first goes on it, they're going to interact with relatively benign apps. And so as a parent, your instinct of the danger, you don't realize that they're in danger. It's not until they happen upon or whatever is going to be your story, but eventually they're going to find their ways into these dark areas because the predators are rampant.
Yeah.
And so now I think we're learning as parents, whoa, wait a second.
Yeah.
But there had to be some casualties before that. It's like the crosswalk phenomena and the seatbelt phenomena. How many people had to go through a windshield before we realized, we need seatbelts?
Yeah.
And I think another big part of it is convenience. So, for an example, might be in pediatrics, car seats for kids. Who has kids? 5-month-old. Oh, car seats. Every car. Put them in. I had to go to the fire department to figure out how to put the first one in, right? How do the fireman's showing me how to do it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's a car seat. But I think the difference with that is the harm is instantaneous. Someone flies through a window, right? As humans, we are like, oh, I see that cause, and I see that effect, and I see how that car seat is going to prevent that from happening. But with this, it's kind of insidious and sneaky. And it's not till you're down the road and you come, like I have patients coming in just utter crisis, mental health crisis. And it got to that point before we realized. And now they're like, can you give me a pill? Get my, antidepressant. That's going to solve it, right? You can try an antidepressant, but if you're still feeding yourself this kind of stuff, that pill's not going to solve it. You got to cut it off at the upstream sorts of contributors that are, So I think a lot of it is parenting. When I was younger, we had like TV, obviously where mass messaging went out. That's how we learned so much about tobacco. The mass message. I remember the lady smoking through her whole hair, right?
Yeah.
And there was a message that our parents got that said, do you know where it's 10 p.m. Do you know where your kid is at?
Yeah.
I want a message that goes, it's 10 p.m. Do you know where your kid is online?
Yeah.
Right? But we don't necessarily have the same kind of mass media or mass messaging because everyone's on different platforms and there's a million messages coming at us because of this. So it's a little bit harder now to just one source of messaging to parents. So trying to get that parent education is harder. Okay, got 8 minutes and I got 2 more cases to go through. I want to take your questions. Give me a second. Let me see if we even need to talk about this. You know what? The rest of this is really a lot more about trafficking. So maybe I do try and just push forward a little bit and then we'll get to questions. Sorry guys, I want to respect all your questions. Okay. I gotta figure out where, okay. So smart devices also have effects on our social emotional learning. Reading nonverbal cues is part of a larger emotional literacy that develops as the child grows. This is really important. In a 2024 UCLA study, scientists found that after just 5 days off their devices, 6th graders showed significant improvement in reading human emotions. Eye contact in particular is an important indicator of our attention and has been linked to important emotional connections, including empathy. But how are we most of the time these days, right? What? Our culture has changed. When I was younger, it was not okay when you're talking to somebody to just, you'd be like, oh, let me take that call real quick. Oh, that is way gone, right? Every couple seconds we're duh. And as soon as your eye contact goes to this, your priority is this, and that person feels that. Have you ever been there?
Yeah.
You're out to lunch with a friend, you think you guys are having a moment, and then all of a sudden your friend's just and you're just like, okay, cool. I get it. That's what we're doing to our kids, right? So we have to be aware of that tiny little second where we look somewhere else. It has meaning and significance for our kids. Okay. And emojis. We have a lot of emojis. They're not sufficient. Think about human expression. Think of all the nuance and our body language and the tone of our voice and that little bit of a smile. Emojis just do not cut it. They do help a little, give some indication of are we teasing or not, but it's not the same as being in person. Okay, wireless mobile device technology also acts in gamifying, quantifying, and objectifying our relationships. And they touched on this today too, the young students. As humans, we like to count and assign value to those numbers. Perhaps because quantity is easier to grasp than quality. Social media uses this human tendency when it lists our numbers of friends and likes. Snapchat puts a gamified twist on standard texting by tallying up texts. A snap streak, the epitome of a good relationship in Snap, can actually become anxiety producing. A patient shared with me once that they set a daily alarm to help them to never forget to send back a daily snap, and she gets stressed if their family ever goes on vacation because it might interrupt that snap streak. Also, through social media, human relationships become more objectified and only as valuable as they can increase one's own online numbers. This is especially problematic for young people who place much of their personal self-worth on those numbers. As reification occurs and the less people are seen as people online, the more a sense of social isolation actually develops in the user. You actually become more isolated when you start viewing them as numbers instead of them as people and true friends. You isolate yourself. Okay. Ashley. So Ashley is a 12-year-old shy girl who likes to play Roblox. We have been really talking a lot about Roblox this conference, but this one was a story from one of my patients. It helps distract her from her stressors, like going to school, where she doesn't feel like she quite fits in. Amber is an online friend that also likes Roblox, and the two spend hours a day playing with each other online. Amber is probably my best friend, says Ashley at her checkup. And this Thorne is saying, the research is saying more and more kids have their best friend, are an online friend. Best friend. Okay. Then one day, Amber asks asks to be Ashley's girlfriend and shares some nude picture of herself. It's a young girl picture. Ashley was, Amber asks Ashley to be girlfriend and shares some nude pictures of herself. Ashley, and then Amber asked Ashley to also send one. And Ashley wasn't sure, but was talked into it, sending a semi-nude picture. Afterwards, Amber told her that she would share this information and tell her parent that she's a lesbian online if Ashley didn't send more of them. Ashley was very confused and embarrassed and scared. She tried to manage it all on her own. She's 12 years old. Until her mom happened upon some online correspondence after seeing a significant change in Ashley's mood and behavior. Her mom was shocked because isn't Roblox just a child's online game? When her mom talked to Ashley, she admitted that she thought now maybe Amber wasn't who she said she was. So sextortion. We talked a lot about it. This is a lot of data you can gather from Thorne. It's happening across all the platforms the kids are on. The predators are on the platforms the kids are on. They're pretty young when it happens. The threats come quick and they come intense, and there's not a ton of disclosure. But if they're going to disclose, they're most likely to disclose to a close family or friend. So any of us in this room could be that close family or friend that could really help a child who's, think about the anxiety that this has been producing for weeks, right? Okay, Eva. I have 1 minute. Okay, we're gonna skip Eva, and I'm gonna open it up to questions. Eva, a young woman that was trafficked in for my practice. But my point of the whole lecture is that lonely, sad, anxious, scared, confused, unattached children and teens who have a stronger attachment to their phone than they do to a caring adult in their life are going to be especially vulnerable teens to be targeted and potentially exploited online. So to protect them, it's imperative we understand how smartphone, social media, and sexual exploitation are linked. And it starts with being here and becoming aware and educating yourself and then putting that out to your circles of influence. And hopefully together, preventing it, right? That's my aim. Okay, so I have, I don't know, let me grab the schedule here because we're gonna go over. Okay, so I guess we have a lunch hour break. I'm gonna be still around for a little bit if anyone wants to ask questions. I have a couple slides that won't take too long for the parents, especially in the room, that are interested in. The question I get asked the number one question I get asked is, when should I give my kid a smartphone? So that's what I'm gonna tackle. So if you want, you can stay, but if you're free to go because it's 12:15, go grab your lunch. But if people want to ask questions, I can take your questions and then I can go through the last few slides. I think you guys, there was a couple over here that Tom, did you have a question? Is it Tim or Tom? Sorry. Tom, did you have a question you wanted to ask me?
Well, just quickly, is tablet trauma similar symptoms as PTSD?
So, yeah, I suppose there's some they can be. Because they're having flashbacks to it.
Right.
I'll tell you, I looked at Momo and I can't get it out of my head. It's that powerful. And we have to understand, like sometimes we think about substances that we put in our body, we think about drugs and how powerful drugs are. I think we need to kind of think now that in this digital age, the eyes are absorbing information and images and influences and substances into our bodies, in our minds. And just as we are concerned that you can take a drug and get a car, we have to start to think of it. You can see a terrifying image and it can impact you for a very long time. So we have to kind of, realize that it's a substance of sorts.
Sure. Anthony, by the way, if you take his waking hours, that would be about 45 years of his life, I think.
Thank you for that. That's a very, except that they're not sleeping.
No, but I mean,
Yeah.
the time that they are awake.
Yeah.
he's-
But they're not getting their 8
he's
hours.
on
They're
like
getting
12 to
6
16
hours.
a day.
Yeah.
The Momo made me think of Slenderman and the two girls that actually did stuff their friends.
Yeah.
Slenderman.
Yeah. So lots of messaging that kids can receive online that can lead to behaviors that can be criminal even, like you're saying. Okay, so any other questions? I'm going to try and find my information here really quick on our next couple slides. I write a lot of it down because I want to be very clear in my messaging. And so, all right, anybody else? Did you have, yeah, go ahead.
I guess I kind of have a question on what you were saying about why we don't cut the cord on just giving our kids the tablet. And from what I see, like I'm not a parent, but from what I see, like talking to like other teachers and other like people who are parents, is that it's like a lot of mental health thing where it's like you're overwhelmed with your own financial stuff, maybe your domestic stuff, maybe you're going through something personally, if there's housing insecurity or food insecurity, something like that, where you have so much going on and the kid's screaming and going and it's just like, I need a moment because I'm gonna break. And so it's like the parents need resources as well, and so they use that as a resource, as you said, the digital pacifier. And is that something that is causing, in your opinion, like the mental health of parents?
Yeah. Absolutely. Parents are more stressed out today than we've ever been. And I know all this stuff, right? And I'm a pediatrician and I'm still like, I need a break, guys. You guys are like, I gotta, do B, and C. One thing that they talked about yesterday that I really think is key here, and I'm grateful because I live in a condo complex, and so when you live in kind of dense housing, you can sometimes have a lot of neighbors to draw from. If you live like in an area that's more rural and your next neighbor is a mile away, that could be a lot harder. But we created a village. There's like 4 moms, and we're all on the same page. And so what we'll do is we'll just be like, hey, I need an hour to like get laundry and dishes and the table set, or I need to go grocery shopping without the kids. And we'll do good old fashioned play dates. Now you gotta know your neighbors. You gotta make sure they're legit, like you said, good neighbors, not those crazy ones. But there are some really great parents that are really in the same boat you're in. And so I'll send my kids over there for an hour. She'll send her kids over for an hour. And we've got a relationship now where it can be a little bit more on the fly. And so it takes a village. Parents are trying to do so much on their own. And we gotta lean into help. And this is really hard for me, but we gotta be okay asking for help. That's the thing. We don't like to ask for help. We want to be like, I got this.
I just want to piggyback on that as a mom of 4 kids. This day and age, like you touched upon, it's different parenting now. But every generation of parents has always had some sort of crutch for when they need that mental break. For a lot of us when we were growing up, maybe it was like your after school cartoons where, but our lineup was like the Flintstones, right? Like it was just different. So parents have always had some sort of form of that mental break. This is the modern day one, and we're just now seeing the repercussions of what it can be. And you have to also keep in mind, and I'm very strict about electronics in my house, but you have to keep in mind that originally everything was posed as look at the educational benefits, instead of physically doing a puzzle, it taught kids fine motor skills, in a different matter. So there's always that positive spin to things too, that you also don't always think outside the box to find the same benefits, but in another fashion. And now we're seeing so many repercussions.
And frankly, we've been lied to as parents. We were told that this does the fine motor skills.
Right, and it does
This
not.
with the puzzle, the kids are physical. They learn from the physical world and then they apply it to the virtual world. We were being taught and thought they can learn it all virtually. They can go experience a waterfall virtually. No, they gotta climb those steps, get soaked, fall, cut their knee, and get dirty and sweaty and stinky and be uncomfortable. Then they experience a waterfall, right? So we've been told things too that just frankly have been not true. And then we have to also understand a little bit of a difference from when we were, put in front of the cartoons is the media that they're consuming now is very fast paced and very intense, and they're ramped up, and they are getting adrenaline, they're getting dopamine, they're getting addicted, they don't want to go. And so as a parent, when you try to take that away, the emotional dysregulation you're about to encounter is actually going to make you not want to take that away. Because when I take that away, I'm going to get a monster on the other end, right? So, okay, so let's talk about parenting. Okay, really quick. So the question, hi guys, thank you for all the work you're going to be doing for the nursing field and in the ICU that you're already doing. Thank you. Okay, the question I get asked by parents more than any other question is, when should I give my kid or teen a smartphone and social media? Okay, so there's an easy answer. It's really easy. Ready?
No.
When they are ready. That's the easy answer. Okay, now here's the hard question. When is a human ready for a smartphone? Okay, now that's the hard question. So this is how I like to think about it. I want to take a moment to think about other technologies that have come before smartphones that have the potential for harm, right? Like kid could fall, hit his head. Stove could burn himself. Fire could burn us up, could burn down the whole town. Car could crash into something, could crash into someone. These were all technologies that came before that had potential for harm, but are critical to our daily functioning, and they're not going away, right? This one's been around the longest, so we're going to talk about that one for a second. Think about fires and fire safety and how we teach the importance of fire safety and the importance of putting it out to protect those around us, right? So how do we teach all these important life skills as parents and as a society? We first have to understand what are the potential harms that can be caused. Then we can determine what is required to handle that type of technology wisely and safely. Again, not only for ourselves, but for those around us as well. So, we talked about fires. Okay. So let's see for this, right? For cars. So when first cars came out, there weren't seatbelts, there weren't airbags, there weren't crosswalks, right? And so, unfortunately, enough casualties had to happen before we realized we need something to help us. There's a stand-up, Jerry Seinfeld talks about brain-cracking activities and how humans, instead of not doing brain-cracking activities, we invented the helmet. So we could continue doing our brain-cracking activities, right? So if we're going to have a smart device technology that has potential for harm, again, we're not going to throw it out the window. We've got to learn from it and adapt, and we have to create seatbelts and airbags, and we have to have industry standards that they're held by, and we have to have laws in place. So, and we, as parents, if we talk about, we have to be okay with inconvenience as a society. Seatbelts are kind of inconvenient. Car seats are really inconvenient, but we're going to do it, okay? So, for instance, they were talking today about, oh, my coaches text me through social media about what my practices are. Well, that's really convenient because the coach can just easily text everybody. That is not okay. It's not okay. We need platforms that are designed for coaches to communicate, and those platforms need to be generally through the parent. Coaches should not be texting your players on social media, but it's convenient, it's easy, and it's the new normal. No. They're gonna get in trouble, and the coaches are gonna get in trouble, and it happens over and over. You hear in the news, this coach, that, It's just too easy to get ourselves into trouble with that. So we have to set up standards that don't require our kids at 13 to have a smartphone necessarily to function in our society. Right now, my kid was 13, he didn't have a smartphone because every practice, every music, the schools are on social media. Yeah, the schools need to get off social media and on a platform designed for schools. But we do it because it's convenient. And we have to let go of some of our convenience for safety. And that's going to be something we'll work on as a society. Okay, and again, another thing, 16, right? We're not having 5-year-olds behind the wheel, right? That frontal lobe. We have to understand that they have to get to a certain age where their brain has developed enough that we trust they can handle it. So we wait. But while we wait, we don't just sit there. How many times does your kid watch you drive before they get behind the wheel? They're in your car for how many hours before they get a chance? So on-ramping. On-ramping is key. And I think this is where we are as a society now, and I'll get there. But this, I'll let you read through this. This is an expert in the area that I love. She's done a deep dive. She's thought a lot about this critically. These are the skills that she sees a human needs to have in order to handle a smartphone. Not just handle it, but to actually thrive with a smartphone. I do believe we can thrive with a smartphone. But these are the types of skills. And if you notice, these skills are skills that can be developed offline before they ever go online. Okay, but I looked at these and I thought, hey, I'm not ready for a smartphone, right? This is tall order. Okay, so on ramping, this is my last slide.
Do you mind going back to the other slide just for a second?
Yeah. Yeah. Raising humans in a digital world. Fantastic. And I'm going to tell you one more fantastic. The best book I read as a parent is How to Break Up with Your Phone by Catherine Price. Fantastic book. Recommend it for everybody. Okay. Okay, on ramping. So again, you don't just throw your kid behind the wheel and say, I sure hope those airbags work. That's what we're doing with filters. Now, we need to have filters, we need to have airbags. But am I going to rely on the life of my child that I hope that airbag works? Heck no. I'm going to be teaching them every teensy little step along the way before they ever get behind that wheel. And the airbag is the safety net. The filter is that safety net. But it's all those skills. That's what's important. Because someday they're going to be 18. And the filters you put on there, they don't have to have those anymore. So we definitely want them to have the skills. But we have to give them time for their brains to develop enough to be able to have those skills. So I have my kids with these little watches because I think there's some real parenting logistics in this day and age, like being able to communicate. These are great because, and I'm not promoting a certain brand, but I can call or text them, but I can select the very specific time periods in which I can. And during school, they are a watch. They can't. There's one SOS emergency call that you hope you never get, right? But they can't call or text during school. They can't play games on it during school. It's a watch. But then after school, they can text or call a few list of people that I provide, which is just me and their dad and a few other people. Okay. So, but they can send me sweet little messages. Let's go. All right. Yeah, I told them they could go.
Awesome. Okay, great.
Okay. Thanks. But it's great on ramping because they get to send me texts and they get to give me calls. So I have to pull. Okay. So it's a great little first step of this is how we text. And it's a lot of voice calls, which is really lovely because I get to hear their sweet voices and they get to practice actually talking, and they get voice messages back. So that's a really great on ramping. And then the role modeling. This is all that time in the car that they spend watching you drive before they get behind the wheel. All of this stuff. I got most of this from How to Break Up with Your Phone by Catherine Price. Again, fantastic. No screens in anybody's bedrooms, including your own. I did this finally, and I get good sleep now. Meals. No devices at meals because devices actually interfere with the messages we receive from our stomach to our brain, and we don't listen to our satiety cues. So we don't know when we're hungry or when we're full because we're so like this, we can't even hear our own body trying to talk to us. So no, and I have a lot of eating disorder patients, anorexics, who use phones to get through their lunch hour. They can get through their lunch hour on social media, and they know they will get through their day without eating. So they're using it as a tool to prevent them from eating at lunch. So, okay. All right. Anybody? Last things, and then we'll wrap.
The device free meal, does that include watching a movie or a show while you're eating?
Exactly, because that concept of when you're watching it, that image is so powerful, you can't even hear inside what's going on. I'm full, I'm hungry. Yeah, so no screens when you're eating. Listen to your body.
Do you also do this as a parent?
Yes. Well, this one was hard. I preached this for a very long time before I did it. I was a hypocrite for a very long time. And it wasn't until I read that book. And you know what helped the best with that? Was it said, just try it. It's an experiment. Just do it once tonight. And I thought, okay, I can't commit to doing this forever, but I'll try it tonight. And then I did, and I was like, oh, that was nice. Because research shows that humans, the first thing, the last thing they look at before they go to sleep and the first thing they look at when they wake up is their phone. Yes. And it just sets your tempo for your whole day.
Yes. I know.
They're even looking at it during moments of intimacy. That's happening.
Because I know as a kid, my sometimes my mom would
That's really.
make rules, but then she wouldn't follow them, and then I just look at her like,
Yeah.
so this is okay for you, but not me. I'm like, huh?
That is so key. This is another really great takeaway point. Kids have these amazing antennas for hypocrisy. If we say you need to eat your veggies and we don't eat our own veggies, well, you don't eat your veggies. So we gotta eat our veggies if we're telling them. So if we're like, you gotta get off your tablet. They're watching more than they're listening. All right, guys, thank you so much.